Judiciary Committee held a hearing on Donald Trump's impeachment, and the whole point was to discuss and debate the articles of impeachment that have been brought forth, which include abuse of power and obstruction of justice. And there were some fascinating moments, to say the least. First, there was Representative Matt Gaetz, a staunch conservative, a huge defender of Donald Trump, bringing up what he feels are real issues when it comes to Hunter Biden, Joe Biden's son. Take a look.
Hunter said that at that point, he had not slept for several days. Driving east on Interstate 10 just beyond Palm Springs, he lost control of his car, which jumped the median and skidded to a stop on the shoulder of the westbound side. He called Hertz, which came to collect the damaged car and gave him a second rental. The Hertz rental officer told me he found a crack pipe in the car and on one of the consoles, a line of white powder residue. Plastic bag containing white powdery substance, a Secret Service business card, credit cards, and Hunter Biden's driver's license. That is what we would call evidence.
So there were Democrats on the committee who are going to respond to him in just a minute. But before that happens, I want to give you some context into who Gaetz is. So Gaetz would know a thing or two about substance abuse because he was actually arrested for a DUI back in 2008. So we have a photo of his mugshot, which he fought tooth and nail to get taken off the internet. It still exists, and I'm glad it still exists because we can call him a hypocrite for using someone's substance abuse issues to defend Donald Trump, who has clearly violated the Constitution in his actions of trying to get a foreign government to meddle in our elections and dig up dirt on his political rival. Now let me give you some more details on what happened with Gaetz's DUI arrest. He was driving home from a nightclub and was pulled over for driving 48 in a 35-mile-per-hour zone, according to the Tampa Bay Times. The SUV belonged to his father, who was actually pretty powerful, State Senator Don Gaetz. Now, he apparently refused to do a field sobriety test or a breathalyzer test. The deputy, identified as Chris Angland, wrote in the arrest report that Gaetz had been unsteady on his feet and that his eyes were bloodshot. Gaetz reportedly admitted to having 2 beers and refused to perform a field sobriety test or take a breath test. So what happened to Gaetz? Did he have to pay the consequences for his actions since he was clearly driving under the influence? No, might have something to do with his state senator father. Gaetz was never convicted, and he was promoted and has promoted efforts to have mugshots removed from private websites.
Yeah.
So.
And the other irony here is Hunter Biden take advantage of his dad's political clout to build a career off that. Whereas I, Congressman Matt Gaetz, would never do that with my state senator dad who put me into politics. Oh, wait.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. What's amazing is that they just don't care about their hypocrisy.
They don't.
Yeah, look, if Matt Gaetz wasn't a hypocrite and said, look, I did that when I was young, I'm sorry about it, etc. You know us, would be like, all right, man, people make mistakes. DUI is a bad one, but people make mistakes, etc. Right? But instead he doubles down. He's like, I can't believe anybody would drive under the influence. Can you believe how bad the Democrats are?
It's amazing.
Amazing.
So luckily, look, oftentimes when Republicans engage in hypocritical arguments or just straight out lie, Democrats are super weak in responding. But I have to be honest, and I'm gonna give Democrats a lot of credit when it comes to these hearings. They've done their homework, they've brought their A game, and Representative Hank Johnson, a Democrat, was able to respond to Gaetz immediately after. Now keep in mind, there are rules in Congress. You're not allowed to insult other members of Congress. So pay attention to his framing here, because what he's referencing is what Gaetz got arrested for back in 2008. Take a look.
I would say that the pot calling the kettle black is not something that we should do. I don't know what members, if any, have had any problems with substance abuse, been busted in DUI. I don't know. But if I did, I wouldn't raise it against anyone on this committee. I don't think it's proper.
That was perfect. Great job, Representative Johnson. I couldn't do any better.
So one of the things that this hearing was about it had to do with amendments to the articles of impeachment. And what I noticed is that they attempted to strike Joe Biden's name from the record, but keep Hunter Biden's name in the record. So do you understand why they were trying to do that? Because the charge, the abuse of power charge, has to do with Donald Trump attempting to dig up dirt on his political rival, that's Joe Biden, right? So they're trying to set the stage for an argument where, no, this had nothing to do with digging up dirt on his political rival. This was all about, the fact that Hunter Biden was on this board. It seemed like it was an abuse of power for him to even be on that board, right? That's what they're trying to do. Luckily, their amendment didn't work, or the amendment to that article of impeachment didn't work because it's stupid and people can see right through it. But these are the little games they play in an attempt to defend Donald Trump and make excuses for him selling the American people out, selling our democracy out, selling our Constitution out.
Sometimes I just feel bad for Republican voters. Like, you're really that dumb that you can't see that trick? Like, oh, no, this has nothing to do with Joe Biden, Donald Trump's opponent. We just happen to randomly be talking about Hunter Biden. And Donald Trump was so concerned, out of all the people in the world, about Hunter Biden, having nothing to do with his dad who was running against him, and in the polling at that time, beating him badly. Okay, also, Donald Trump happens to be concerned about Billy Bob Buttigieg for no reason at all.
And Elizabeth Warren, who he, during his chopper talk, wanted investigated by the Chinese government. He said that out loud in front of everyone. That's
right, he said, I want Biden and Elizabeth Warren, at the time polling at #1 and #2, to be investigated by China. And then later they'll be like, no, he was actually talking about Elizabeth Warren's niece. He's really worried about the niece.
Well, look, if you're worried about corruption in Ukraine, or if you're worried about this Ukrainian gas company, engaging in corruption, okay, that's fine. I think that investigations are appropriate in some cases, right? But then you go to US officials and you ask US officials, people who work in your administration, ambassadors, the intelligence community. We have an entire apparatus set up for these types of investigations. You don't go to a foreign government and ask, not for an investigation, that's not really what he asked for, but the announcement of the investigation on CNN. That is what Trump wanted.
And you also don't go ask your personal lawyer to do it who is not part of the government. You don't ask your dentist, you don't ask your plumber, you ask someone in the State Department if you are actually concerned about corruption in Ukraine. And finally, I just want to be clear, there is no Billy Bob Buttigieg. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.